Welcome. My name is Frank Engelbert. I'm an ARIS expert with 20 years of experience. I will share with you in the following an easy way to improve your business using a new ARIS feature called Read and Understood. Stay tuned for the next 20 minutes when we're connecting organizational operation excellence with personal excellence using ARIS. Did you know that a typical company has between 300 and 700 distinct ways of working? Did you know that when a company's business model is not connected to its operating model, that company will likely not be successful? Conversely, if a company's business model and operating model are well aligned, that is a strong condition for success. But it does not stop there. How do you make sure that a company's operating model gets into the hearts and minds of its workforce, its employees, its people? That is a connection that is often overlooked, but very important for success. How do you make sure that a company's operating model connects with the hearts and minds of your workforce? That is a condition for true operational excellence. And I will show you today a feature of ARIS that will help you with just that, making your workforce understand your company's ways of working. All right, let's define what we mean by business model and operating model. Your business model is your strategy definition. It's the what you're doing as a company and why you're doing it. It's about your vision and mission, your goals and strategies, the markets you're in, the product portfolio and value proposition of your products, the customer segments you're addressing, the channels you're using, who you go to market with as a partner, and how you go about creating your revenue streams. It's about doing the right things to be successful. Your operating model is about doing those things right once the doing the right things is defined. It's the how you go about your business, with which business processes, how fast or slow these business processes are, what quality you need to have in place, what cycle time you can afford, how much those activities can cost, what risks there are if you go about this, which regulations you need to comply with, what organization you need to have in place and what skills, and which information technology is there to help support your operating model. Let's stay with this question of business model and operating model for another second. In theory, management defines the business model, and the operating model is then derived from the business model. So a logical top-down approach. First business model, then operating model. It's not always like that, but that's a typical approach. And this is already value. So it could be that business model and operating model are not connected at all. So having them connected is already valuable. So this value of having them connected probably gets you there 70% in my personal estimate. And what is still missing? The same thing that I mentioned before. How does your operating model connect with your workforce? There needs to be a connection. You can't just throw it over the fence and expect them to know everything. You can't just say, have at it, figure it out. There needs to be something. So there's an additional 30% of value missing that is a very important condition for success. And what these additional 30% are, I will talk to you about in the following. Next, let me clarify what I mean by ways of working. Ways of working is very similar to the operating model, and I would define it as the end-to-end processes of an organization, broken down into sub-processes, broken down into procedures, broken down into work instructions, all adapted to local circumstances, taking into account legal requirements, looking after the customer in an optimal fashion, and taking advantage of information technology to do so. Let's now approach the connection between organizational excellence and personal excellence. First, I want to clarify what I mean by personal or individual excellence. The game of poker is a great example for individual process excellence. Contrary to popular belief, beating this game in the long run is entirely skill-based as opposed to luck-based. Poker mirrors real-life business situations with multiplayer strategic situations, random events, complex decision-making under uncertainty, all wrapped into a series of sequential steps, otherwise known as process. To perform well at this game, one has to have a strong personal process model, and one has to know at all times what that model is, and one has to be able to follow it in detail. We're talking about a process model with thousands of decision points and variations. Even more importantly, sometimes a savvy player has to deviate from the standard process and know exactly when and how to do so. And that requires true skill. Think about it. What would be the value of incorporating such individual excellence into an organization? On the other hand, the game of soccer is a perfect example for organizational operational excellence as opposed to individual excellence, where every single player has to play their best, plus be in harmony or alignment with every one of their fellow players on the field for the team to perform at its best. It even goes beyond just the players on the field to include trainer team, soccer club, and in some instances even national soccer federations. Being like a winning soccer team, where every single gear perfectly spins within the overall machine, that should be the aspiration for an operationally excellent organization. What then is ARIS, and how can it help connecting individual excellence with organizational excellence? I will show you in the following a three-pillar mechanism that achieves just that. The first and foundational pillar is a newly introduced ARIS feature of 2020 called Read and Understood, also known as confirmation management. Confirmation management is a wonderful new ARIS feature. It is very high value as a product feature. It was introduced in 2020. And it is also known as Read and Understood. Confirmation management is a lightweight business workflow that asks model stakeholders, for example, process participants, to confirm that they have read and understood and will follow the content of an ARIS or ARIS models. Typically, it is applied to business processes because they represent organizational ways of working, but not exclusively. There's other model types as well. The value of it is very high because it takes graphical models, process models, other models in ARIS, and it elevates their value from often ignored or sometimes ridiculed to becoming immediately relevant to employees' daily work performance. What you see on this slide is an organization's business strategy as an ARIS model, for instance with vision, mission, goals, objectives, and strategies, standing representative of an organization's business model. How do you make sure your workforce understands your business strategy? Simple. By asking them to read and understand and have them confirm that they have read and understood. You could roll out a confirmation message like this. I hereby confirm that I have read and understood our organization's business strategy and recent changes to it, and confirm that I will adapt my ways of working such that they are in alignment with it. For example, This is the first part of the three-pillar mechanism I mentioned before: communicating business model and asking for stakeholder confirmation. What you see on this slide is one out of many organizational ways of working, also known as business processes, all of which in totality represent the organization's operating model. This is, of course, ideally derived from and connected to the business model. Now, how do you make sure that your workforce follows the organization's ways of working? Simple. By asking them to read and understand and have them confirm that they have read and understood. You could roll out a confirmation message like this: I hereby confirm that I have read and understood this process and changes to it and will adhere to it in the course of my daily work. For example, let me point out on the screen where this confirmation message is visible. So when a user uses or logs in and views a certain model content, the confirmation message will show on top of the actual model view content. And there is a button right here that says confirm. And once you do this, the status is set from confirm to confirmed. And this is the actual workflow mechanism. This is the second part of the three-pillar mechanism I mentioned before: deriving ways of working and asking for stakeholder confirmation. What you see on this slide is same business process as before, plus ARIS's collaboration feature. Here comes the brilliant twist. Because of step 2, there is now step 3. Without step 2, there would be less of an incentive for this step 3. In other words, if you, as an employee or process participant, have skin in the game, due to knowing that you will be asked to confirm that you have read and understood, it's in your own best interest to shape organizational ways of working you're involved in such that they run best by bringing your personal excellence to the table, by sharing your best practices, by incorporating your knowledge and experience. And you do this via ARIS's collaboration feature. This is the connection between personal excellence and organizational excellence I mentioned before, brought about by this beautiful ARIS read and understood feature. A continuous improvement cycle to bring out the best in every employee for the benefit of the entire organization, connecting people's hearts and minds to the work they do. I refer to this as say what you do and do what you say. Say what you do refers to defining, documenting, designing, contributing to the what and how of work. This is essentially business process modeling. It is complemented by ARIS's collaboration feature, where employees can, or rather should, contribute to improving processes they participate in by giving feedback and sharing best practices. Do what you say, on the other hand, refers to holding employees accountable to following their own best practice ways of working. This is more than top-down militarily imposed my way or the highway, but rather helps employees hold themselves accountable to the way they should be doing their best work, and that they're consistently doing it in an excellent and repeatable fashion. In other words, say what you do refers to modeling the process, and do what you say refers to following their best process, empowering employees to hold themselves accountable to their own high standards of work performance. Completing the loop is workflow traceability of confirmation tasks, including proper GRC-style audit trail. Model owners and others with permission can follow who performed tasks and who did not. On the left-hand side, you see that there's traceability. This is the example business model we talked about before. And there you see a confirmations tab right here. and you can see who actually performed a confirmation task or not, and on which date right here. And this status means still open, still outstanding. So all of these are people who have not yet performed their read and understood task. On the right-hand side, you see ARIS's integrated dashboards, and you see there's already a confirmation management dashboard available out of the box that automatically picks up these workflows and statuses and visualizes them. And you can also see that there is those exact kind of workflows visible right here. You can view them. You can see how much is still open, who already performed certain tasks, and who did not. So this elevates ARIS to the level of a complete digital work management system where work is defined, collaboratively improved, and followed. I'd now like to quiz you. I have 3 questions for you. Let's start with question 1. What is the name of the software product presented today? Give yourself 10 seconds. That should be easy. What is the name of the software product presented today? Question 2, a little bit harder. How do you make graphical models valuable? 20 seconds. How do you make graphical models valuable? Got it? Okay, good. Let's move on to question number 3. Through which product feature can individual excellence be transfused or incorporated into organizational excellence? 30 seconds. Through which product feature, ARIS product feature of course, can individual excellence be transfused into organizational excellence? 3 questions. And I'm going to present to you the solutions right now. The solution for question number 1 is of course ARIS, that's the name of the product, ARIS. The solution to question number 2 is you make graphical models valuable by making them relevant. And how do you make them relevant? That leads us into the solution for question number 3. You make them relevant by asking stakeholders to confirm that they have read and understood. Before concluding, allow me to say that ARIS's capabilities go beyond what was presented today. On a high level, ARIS also helps you with business design and strategy, with rollout and change management, with process mining and process analytics, with business automation, SAP and RPA related, with risk and compliance management, and with enterprise architecture. This concludes my presentation. It was my pleasure presenting this to you. I've been Frank, the ARIS expert. Thank you very much for your time and interest. Bye for now.